going to discuss the basics terms. So, like that, first one is called phases of FEA. See, now what we discussed in the previous and all, what is steps involved in the finite element method, and this is called as phases of FEA. So usually this phases of FEA, this terminology we are going to use in a, especially when you're going to deal with an using FEM software. So in that there are three phases will be there. So what is three phases? Very important three phases are pre-processing, solution, or is called processing, and finally post-processing. Pre-processing, any type of structure you take it. If you want to do using a numerical method analysis like FEM, then you have to go through these three phases one by one. First, you have to do a pre-processing process, then you go for processing or solution process, and finally post-processing. What do you mean by pre-processing? In pre-processing is a process in which analysts develop a finite element mesh, divide the given in geometry into subdomain and for a mathematical analysis, and apply the material property and boundary condition. So in the pre-processing stage, what they will do, first, what is the structure, given structure is there, they will do the modeling. That is 3D modeling or 2D modeling they will do in a software. After that, they are going to do the meshing process. That is given domain into subdomain, they will divide it. After that, what they will do, they will apply the material property, they will apply the boundary conditions. So that up to that stage is called pre-processing. Up to that stage is called pre-processing. And solution means once you've done this all these things, when you're in a software for a computer, if you click on solution or solve it, and there is option will be there. When you're doing the common lab, you can get no. When you click on the solve, what it will do computer, it will do the solution for that. Means it will form the what you said, uh, it will calculate the elemental stiffness matrix, then it will assemble the global stiffness matrix, then it will apply the boundary condition, and it will calculate the unknowns like stress, strain, what you want, that will calculate nodal displacements, reactions, all these things are calculating. That is done in a second stage, that is known as processing. So that is in a process, it will solve the entire matrix. So that will take care by the system or computer in software. That is microprocessor, that is the brain of the computer, no, that will do it. Then finally, once this result is done, and finally we are going to view, that is known as post processing. Means what is the things we given, for that what computer is solved, we are going to see the result through the graphical representation. That is known as post processing. We are going to analyze and validate whether result is came rightly or not, expected results are came, that we are going to examine. That is what, in which analysts check the validity of the solution, examine the values of primary quantities, and derive the exams additional quantities, everything, errors is there or not, where it is came more stress, where it come less stress, whether it is right or not, everything we are going to check. So usually first step and last step is manual one. Means user should be do it pre-processing stages. You should model, you should discretize, you should apply the load supports, that is called boundary condition, and he should give an material property, that's things. After that, once you click on solve it, you no need to do it, it will take care by in a background computer, it will solve everything. That is these steps it will do. So once you've done this discretion content and select the model, so assembly, formation of elemental stiffness matrix, formation of overall stiffness matrix, and apply the boundary condition and unknowns, everything do it by computer. That is known as solution or processing stage. Then post processing means once the solution is done, that will we are going to view by user. So that result we are going to analyze and validate whether the results are came expectation or there is error, where the most stress, strain, or velocity is there. That we are going to analyze whether result is computer. It will not say it is right or not, because computer, as you know, it is not having thinking capacity. Simply what will give the input, that for that it will solve it. That's all. Therefore, human being, that is user, should be analyzed and you to judge whether it is right or not. That's all. So that three process will be take place phases in a FEA. Usually when you're going to solve to the this one, what you call software. So like what we take on the steps involved in the FEA, no. So usually first step, second step is taken by pre-processing stage. That is what you, one minute, where is that point? Yeah. So discretion, numbering of the nodes, selection select. Then after that, it will select the displacement function. After that, it define the material property, and it will derive the element stiffness property. After that, it will assemble the element stiffness matrix. Then after that, it will apply the boundary condition. After that, it will do the solution. After that, it will be calculate the stress and strain, and finally, we are going to interpret. So up to here, first two step is the pre-processing. Up to year, it is the processing or analysis or solution stage phase. And finally, you are going to interpret the result. Means through the graphical representation, you are going to view the result. So that is called post-processing. It is known as post-processing. So these are the three phases in a FEA will be there. If in examination they asked about phases of FEA means, you should write this. If it is steps in order the FEM means, you should write this. Okay, understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So phase of FER, pre-processing, solution, and post-processing. See, pre-processing is a very important step. If you do any mistakes in the pre-processing, your entire result will be wrong. So pre-processing is a very, very important step. How will you going to discretize? How will you going to apply the boundary condition? How will you model the this one geometry model? You do it. How will give the material property? It matters a lot. So if you pre-processing is only the very important step, and second and third one is not much, because what will give the pre-processing, for that it will do the solution. That's all. But if you done especially pre-processing is wrong, entire result goes wrong. Your accuracy depends upon in the pre-processing stage. After that, solution. Solution is automatic. Computer it will take care. And finally, post-processing. That's all. So this is about the phases of FEA. Then we are came to one more very important thing as a point of examination. Also, this is also important, discretization process, because as I mentioned in we discussed, the main fundamental principle of FEM is to discretization process. Means divide the subdomain into subdomain. That means converting infinite number of nodes to finite number. So your results matters main on this discretization process. How we are going to divide the element, that's matters a lot. So as you accurately divide or accurately you're going to select the element, so then you'll get a good results. That's a discretization process is the first step in a pre-processing. That is a very important. So that we are going to convert geometric entity into FEM entity, like lines are converted into elements and points are converted into nodes. Suppose I take an example here. Cantilever beam is there. This is the I need to analyze. See, there are three types given here. Suppose you are going to do 1D analysis, 2D analysis, 3D analysis. Then 1D analysis means you are going to use 1D element like this, just on line. What is this elements I will going to take up in the next? 2D means only this surface only will take it, 2 dimension. Then using a 2D element, you are going to divide like this. Suppose you are going to consider 3D, LBH, 3 dimension you are going to be consider. Then the 3D elements you are going to use, then you are going to divide like this. Therefore, the first step is the pre-processing in the discretization process. The analyst or user should know, before going to do the discretization, you should know how to discretize, what type of element I should use, means what type of analysis I should do, especially whether I should go for 1D, 2D, 3D. It is where mainly we have to decide first. Based on that, you have to select the number of type of element. Suppose in this beam, if length only more compared to B and H, then which analysis you should do? Which analysis you should do? Length is more compared to breadth and height. Which analysis you should do? 1D, 2D, or 3D? Hello?
1 day, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
You
sir.
should do 1D analysis. Suppose if length and breadth are more compared to height, then which analysis you should do?
2 day.
2D.
If both three are considerable, then you go for 3D. Usually, beam, we are not going to 2D or 3D. We are going to do only 1D. Why? Because always length is more in the beam compared to the cross section, like breadth or edge, or it may be radius, whatever it may be cross section. That depends. That's why I usually go for 1D. So why this very important step means, suppose you can get the answer for all three correctly, not a problem. But what is the main? Suppose instead of 1D analysis, if I do 2D analysis, 3D analysis, what will happen? What may be the drawback? You'll get a result. Accurately, you'll get there is no problem in that. But what is the problem? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? If I instead of 1D analysis, if I do 3D analysis for this type of beam problem, what is the main drawback it will come? So what happened is it will take more computation time, because more 3D means it will more elements will be there, and more degree of freedom will be there, and more number of equation it will come. Therefore, it will take more number of equation means more number. It will take lot of time to computation. Therefore, instead of that, if you do 1D analysis for the same result means, why should we go for 3D? That's why I said main fundamental objective of the design is to get the result in a minimum time. That is very important. So that's why we should not make complex. As much as simple way we should calculate. That's why that depend upon the how you're going to analyze the problem first. So that is matters lot. So you should decide first whether I go for 1D, 2D, or 3D. So that's why we are going to very important step, that is. So this discretization process, there is some factor going to be affect. What are those factors? This is the very important theory question. The factor which affect the discretization process, sir. Here I will read it first. The discretion of the domain into finite element is the first step in the finite element method. This is equivalent to replacing the domain having infinite number of degree of freedom by a system having finite number of degree of freedom. The shape, size, number, and configuration of the element have to be chosen carefully. Not only elements, what may be the shape, what may be the number of elements, what may be the configuration, that we need to choose properly, and so that original body or domain is simulated as closely as possible without increasing the computational effort needed for the solution. So the various consideration taken in the discretization process are, that means factors affecting the discretization process are: type of element, what type of element you are going to choose; size of element, how many size of elements you are going to choose; location, what the location of nodes you are going to choose; numbering of the number of elements, how many number of elements you are going to choose; node numbering scheme, how you are going to numbering the nodes. All this matters the discretization process, and all this matters finally the result accuracy. So let me take up one by one now. How type of element, what are the types of elements are there, what are the size of element are there, how it will be affect, location of nodes, how to do it, and how it will affect number of elements. All these things we're going to discuss one by one. So the various factor which affect the discretization process are type of element, size of element, location of nodes, number of element, and node numbering scheme. So let me take to the types of elements. This is one of very important questions, theory question. Means they will ask you directly, what are the types of elements are there? Write down 10 marks or 8 marks. They will ask you. So let me see one by one. There are different types of elements are there, like 1D, 2D, 3D elements, axisymmetric element, and layered elements. Like some other also there, but so many types of new. Every day they are going to inventing so many types of different types of elements for a different types of particular application. But now generally what we are going to use, that only we mentioned here as a point of examination, how much you require to write, that's much only enough. So there are a lot of 100 types of 100 200 types of elements are there in every software. It's having, they are going to um, made so many different types of elements to create to do the solve the problem for a particular problem. So those things will take it. And one more thing I forget to mention here, 1 minute. And here one more is bar. Yeah, it comes in this one only. Okay. So only for examination purpose, how much is required, that's much only we mentioned here. Let me take the this type of elements. What are those things? 1D, 2D, 3D, axis symmetry, and layer elements. So let me take up first one, 1D elements. So 1D elements means it's just like a line. It's having one element and having only two nodes. See, this is one element. Line will represent the line is represent the element. Points represent the nodes. So usually one element means it's having one element and two nodes, and each elements having usually 1 degree of freedom. So where Q1, Q2 represent the nodal displacement. Q1, Q2 node represent the nodal displacement. So this is two noded bar element. Two noded bar element. So and this is same 1D element only, but three noded bar element. Here what happened? There are three nodes are there. So here 1, 2, and in between that one more. So therefore the nodal displacements are here Q1, Q2. This is Q2, Q3 actually. Sorry, this is Q2. So therefore this is called as 1D element. Usually 1D element having 1 degree of freedom will be there usually at the node. So in this 1D element, there are two types of special element will comes. So this is called bar element. Usually bar means when you're going to solve the bar problem, no, simple bar problem, stepped bar problem, taper bar problems, all this bar problem you have to solve using this FEM technique. Means you have to use 1D bar elements. 1D bar element means either you can use two noded bar element or three noded. As you use the more noded bar element, you will get the accurate result. So bar element is an 1D element. In that 1D, there are two special type of element you are going to use. One is called beam element, also truss element. Usually this beam element we are going to use when you're going to solve the beam problem, specially we are going to use. So in this beam elements, what is the main difference here is it's having 2 degree of freedom at these nodes. You can see one is Q1 and one more is Q2. So what is Q1? It is Q1 is the displacement, nodal Q1, Q2 are the nodal displacement. So this is called linear displacement and it is having rotation Q2. Because when you're going to apply the load on a beam, it's going to be deformed linearly, that is Y, in a Y direction, as well as it's going to be rotate. That is called bending. Correct? No? Beam will be bent, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
That's why
Yes, sir.
that's why one nodal displacement about the linear deflection, one more nodal displacement is about the rotation action because of bending. So this type of beam element also called as 1D element, which is going to specially only use for the only particular problem, that is known as beam problems. This is mainly used for bar problems. So we are going to use bar means when you're going to apply the load on the bar, either it will be compression or tension, that's all. It no rotation, only linear movement will be there, no rotation. That's why only linear displacement will be there. Q1, Q2, Q3, no rotation they shown. But here Q1, Q2, here Q3, Q4, there are four nodal displacement curves. Because one is linear displacement, another is called rotation action. Trusses. What is trusses? I will take you separate. That module is there. In module 2, we are going to discuss. When you're going to solve, you seen the mobile tower and all, no? Mobile tower you seen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that in mobile
Yes,
tower,
sir.
the dots are in a zigzag way, no? That is called a truss. So that truss, if you want to solve it, then you're going to use, there is a special element, it's called truss element is there. So that truss element you are going to use to solve that. This is also called as 1D element. And what is the difference here is compared to the bar element, here also there are 2 degree of freedom at each node. So one is the linear displacement along x-axis, one is linear displacement along y-axis. So here for node 1, Q1, Q2, and here Q3, Q4. So in case of beam, one is linear and one is rotation. But in case of truss, both are linear in x and y. Whereas in case of bar, only it will move in a x direction or y direction. That's why it's only 1 degree of freedom. So all these three are comes under 1D bar elements. 1D elements, one dimensional elements. Now second one is called as 2-dimensional elements. So 2 dimension means we are going to use when the two dimensions are considerable. For that case, we are going to use 2-dimensional elements. So what are those 2-dimensional elements over there? One is called 3-noded triangular element. In the triangular only, again 6-noded triangular element. And one more is called quadrilateral element, that is 4-noded. And one more is 8-noded quadrilateral elements. So means here only 2 types of element usually in a 2D. One is called triangular elements, one is quadrilateral elements. So based on the node, again it is specified. So three noded triangle means its shape is like a triangle. That's why it's called triangle element. Three noded triangle elements means it's having three nodes. You can see here 1, 2, 3. But again, the nodal displacements are how many are there? It's having 2 degrees of freedom. That means one is displacement along x-axis, displacement along y-axis. Therefore, here q1, q2, q3, q4, q5, q6. So in 2D elements, it's having 2 degrees of freedom will be there. So that is along x, y. X usually called displacement called u, y usually called as v. So q1, q2, q3, q4, q6 are called nodal displacement. Means the displacement acting at the particular nodes. So it comes to the sixth node. Sixth node means there are 6 nodes. So one is 1, 2, 3 here. In between that, one more is there. So that is 3 nodes. Here 4, here between this 1 and 3 years. So between 2, 3 and 2, it is 5. And between 3 and 1, it is 6. This is called higher order elements. So as you use more number of nodes, higher order element, it will give the accurate result. So that is what it is called higher order. More than number is there. Means in between that, if you interpret you are introduce one more node in between the element means that is called higher order elements. So this higher order elements is usually give the accurate results. So here 6 noded are there, but nodal displacement become how much? Here q1, q2, q3, q4, q5, q6. Then come to here. Here what is the q7, q8, then q9, q10, q11, q12. So therefore there are 6 noded, but nodal displacement becomes 6 to the 12 because each node having 2 degrees of freedom. Similarly, quadrilateral. So quadrilateral means it's having quadrilateral shape. So that's why it's called quadrilateral element. Here again 4 nodes quadrilateral, 8 node quadrilateral. 4 node means at each corner. Usually quad means 4 corner will be there. Therefore 4 nodes will comes, and each node again having 2 degrees of freedom in a 2 dimensional. Therefore 4 twos are totally 8 nodal displacement will comes. Again here 8 quadrilateral. 8 noded quadrilateral means in between the nodes again they introduce the one more element. So one more node, not element. So year one, year one, and year one, and year one. So therefore, totally how many nodal elements are there? The nodal elements are 8 to the 16. 8 to the 16 nodal displacement. And how many nodes is there here? 8. So usually all your plane stress problem, that is when you're going to analyze the sheet metal problems and all, we are going to use this type of 2D elements. So next one is called 3D. 3D means here each node having how many degree of freedom? Each having how many degree of freedom will be there? How many degree of freedom is there here?
3.
3. So what are the 3D?
Three.
So 3D elements are like one is tetrahedron element, one is called hexahedral elements. 2 types will be there. Again in tetra there are 2 types: 4 noded tetrahedron, then 10 noded tetrahedron, like that will be there. So tetrahedron, hexahedron elements are 3D elements. So in each node it's having 3 degree of freedom. That is q1, q2, q3. This is called nodal displacement along x, y, and z. So therefore it is 4 noded. Therefore 4 threes are 12. Total you'll get 12 nodal displacement will be there. So usually where and all 3 dimensions are considerable, like as I said, automobile parts, or it may be turbine parts, or it may be pump part, anything which is considerable 3D. That is we going to use this one. So therefore, if you use this type of element, definitely it will take more computation time. Why? Because 3 degree of freedom is there. That to nodal degree become 12. So 12 into how many number of equations, how much you get. So that will take a lot of time to computation. Again, this is 10 noded. 10 noded means again in between these nodes, they are introduced one more element, one more node. Year, 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 year. So therefore it is become 10 noded. So 10 threes are how much? 10 threes are how much?
30.
30. Total
30, sir.
nodal displacement become 30. Again, this is called hexahedral, like a rectangular box. Again, this is 8 noded. Usually, hexahedral or 8 noded will be there because there are 4 plus 4 corner, that is become 8 noded will be there. In each node, there are 3 nodal displacement. Therefore, 8 threes are become how much? 8 threes are become how much?
24.
24. Therefore, totally there are 24. No, total 8 noded with along with 24 nodal displacement is there in this hexahedral element. So this is known as 3D elements. And one more is called axis symmetry element. This is also one of the special type of elements. When you're going to solve the circular objects, usually, like if we are going to solve a what is cylinder, pipes, or it may be a circular, any circular body you are going to solve, no? So those type of problem we are going to solve means you have to use axis symmetric elements. Uh, that is again here 1D will be there, 2D will be there. So axis symmetry elements are used to analyze the rotating body or components are symmetric about the axis. So usually with respect to the axis, it's symmetric will be there, circular in nature. That type of problem we are going to solve using um, axis symmetric elements. So again this here 1D, this is 2D will be there. So this is known as um, axis symmetric elements. And layered element, this is also one of the special type element, and this is usually going to use when you're going to analyze the composite material. Then they are going to use this type of layer element when the material is made up of composite, means more than one element. uh, Composite material, almost nowadays what we are using is a composite material. When you're going to analyze that type of problems, then you should use this layered elements. So in this is, you can see the figure here. So this is called layered element. So the layered elements are used in analysis of composite laminates. These elements has 8 noded with 6 degrees of freedom at each node. So very important thing on this one. 8 node will be there. Totally 8 node is there. In each node, it's having 6 degrees of freedom. Imagine that. Then computation time, how much it will take. So 6 degrees of freedom. Though what are 6 degrees of freedom will be there? What are those 6 degrees of freedom? I explained no already. What are those 6 degrees of freedom? What are those 6 degrees of freedom? Hello? What are those 6
Yes, sir.
degrees of freedom?
3 rotation.
3 rotation and 3 translation.
Three
So here same thing. Translation in XYZ, rotation XYZ. Therefore, in layered element, it's having in each node, there are 6 degrees of freedom. So therefore, 8 node it become 8 6 how much? 8 6 become how much? If 8 noded, the what is the node total?
48.
48 nodal displacement it become. So that's why computation times are more. So especially which is going to use composite. You can use other elements also, you can get the result, but the result is not much accurate. Then composite means you should go for this one. Like this, so many types of elements are day by day they are going to developing to get the accurate results. So now only few are mentioned here, which is required for an examination purpose. That is this much you write it, it is enough. So this is one of the important question. All of you understood? All of you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I said, here different types of element. Then how to decide this? This is the first step. As I said, for a beginners, that means analysis. So this selection of elements, it depends upon 3 factor again. What type of analysis you're going to do, what type of geometry and size is there, and what is the project time is there. Based on that, you have to choose it. So suppose you are going to do on type of analysis, or whether it is 1D, 2D, 3D, and then again in that whether it is a static analysis, dynamic analysis, static analysis. Based on that, you have to choose it. Or and also based on the analysis type of analysis, whether the linear problem or non-linear, based on that you have to choose it. And geometry size, whether it is simple geometry or 1D, 2D, 3D geometry, you have to choose the type of element. And project time, if the project time is minimum is there, then you go for instead of 3D, you can go for 2D. You can get the in that again 3D means again which type of tetrahedron I should use, hexahedron I should use, or 8 noded or 10 noded. Again you have to whether go for higher order element or less or simple element, you should choose it. So based on this, you have to choose it. Usually for the minimum time you have to get the result means you have to choose a simple elements. If you want accurate result, more time is there to for the completion of project means you can go for higher element, because higher order element will give the accurate result. What is higher order elements means in between the nodes again one more node is introduced, like this what we said here. In between 2 and 3 they introduce 6, that is called higher order elements. So more than higher order elements if you choose, you get the accurate results. So based on all these factor, you have to select the correct type of element. So this is the one more very important step. If you missed here, again the results matter slot affect definitely. So that is the first step in a discretization process, selection of elements, which type of element you are going to select. That is the first step. So next, second one, size of the element. What type of size elements I need to use it? That is matters here. Why it is matters? Let me see. The size of element influence the convergence of a solution directly, and hence it has to chosen with care. If the size of elements is small, the final solution is expected to be more accurate. However, we have to remember that use of elements of smaller size will also mean more computation time. Sometimes we had to use elements of different size in the same body. For example, in case of stress analysis of a plate with a hole, elements of different size have to be used. The size of element has to be very small near the hole compared to the far away places. In general, whenever the steep gradients of the field variable are expected, we have to use a finer mesh in those regions. Another characteristic of related to the size of the element which affect the finite element solution is aspect ratio of the element. The aspect ratio discuss the shape of the element and the assemblage of element. Let me see that later. See, what do you mean they are given is here, size of elements is matter slot. So if you want accurate result, then size of the element should be small. Correct now? More the size, lesser the size if you use, then you get accurate result. But thing is what happened? It will take what? It will take more time or lesser time? It will take more time or lesser time?
So lesser times.
If you use lesser the size of the element, if you reduce the size of the element, it will take more time or lesser time to solve?
More times.
More time, no? More small size,
More time.
small elements you are going to use means it will take more. That is what they mentioned. If the size of the element is small, final solution expect to more accurate. However, remember that use of elements of smaller size will also leads to more computation time. So therefore, we need to use the different size here. For an example, you take in plate with a hole. You already were done in this type of problem, correct? So where you'll get the more result here, more stresses will be more, where it will be occur according to your analysis. Where the more stress will be developed. You done this type of in DME, right? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Where you get the more stress here? Whether it will get the stress is at the wall side or whether you stress you get at the boundaries.
Also,
Outer. Huh?
Rear hole, sir.
Why it will get more there?
So because there is empty.
Not empty. What is that? What type of problem this one you done in DME? What is this called? Topic name? Stress concentration, no? Hello?
Yes,
Stress
sir.
concentration or not?
Yes, sir.
So that means because of stress concentration factor, here the stresses will be more at the hole. Therefore, what instead of using small elements for everywhere, what I can use the different size. Means I can do coarse mesh here, I can do finer mesh here. That is what the figure shown. You can see the size near the hole only my result affect more. That's why I use finer mesh here, small size, and here more size. Therefore, what happened here? If I use everywhere same small size, what happened? It will take lot of time to compute. I don't want even here that will not result much effect because I result only I required here because I know the more stresses will develop at the wall. Therefore, only at this wall near I should do finer mesh and here I should do the coarse mesh. Therefore, what happened? You will take lesser the competition time and also get the accurate results. So like this, you have to do it. So so the user have to be doing the discretization process. This has to be consideration. Where should I use less finer mesh? Where should I use coarse mesh? Coarse mesh means more the size of the element. Finer mesh means lesser the size of the element. Keep this in mind. So therefore, this is the thing affect. More the so and one more thing, you can see the graph here. I given a graph here. What happened? This graph, can you tell me what is showing? As the size of the elements are increasing, the results, this is the accuracy, and y-axis is the accuracy, and x-axis is the size of the element. and actually the exact solution is here. Now, as the size of the element increases, what happened? The result accuracy will be what happening in the accuracy?
Decreases.
Decreasing, sir.
As the decrease in the size of the element, results will almost converge to the exact solution. As you further decrease, what is happening again? Results, what is happening? Accuracy, what is happening here after this? Diverging. Again, what happened? The accuracy is going to be decreasing. Why it is happen? As you lesser the size, if you use it, it has to increase further, closer. But it will not happen like that. Why? That will take you in the next slides. Why that reason I will tell you. But now, size of the element matters a lot. If you want accurate result means you should use different size of element. Where you want, you have to use finer mesh. Where the result not much effect, you have to use coarse mesh. Don't use the same size everywhere. That is the main thing. Okay. Why? Because they mentioned here another characteristic related to size of element which affect the finite element solution is aspect ratio. They're saying what is that aspect ratio? How it will affect? That will take up to the later. Next, this is the second factor is over. Third factor, location of the nodes. How you are going to locate the node? Your results discretion results for matters and your discretion process matters. Node is a point where the properties are defined and determined for an element. Therefore, the location of node is very important. If the body has no discontinuity, then the body can be divided into equal number of elements, and hence spacing of the nodes can be uniform. On the other hand, if the body has discontinuity, such as discontinuity is in the loading, discontinuity in the geometry, or discontinuity in the material property, then the nodes have to be introduced or placed at those of discontinuity as shown in figure. See, very simple way. This one I will explain you. Location of nodes. How we are going to locate. Suppose if the geometry is uniform and load also uniform, then you can easily divide into equal number of parts with the equal number of space between the nodes like this. You can see one node here, one node here, one node. So equal space here to your same distance, here to space same distance. Because node matters. Why? Because at that when you're going to apply the load as well as boundary condition, what you're saying, property, what are the load, how much load you're going to apply, how much properties of the materials that you're going to apply on the node only. So therefore, the location of load matters a lot here. So suppose if the body is uniform, no discontinuity, you see, everywhere it is having same area. That's why we divide into equal number of parts with a uniform space of the nodes. Suppose if the body having discontinuity means what? It may be discontinuity in the loading, it may be discontinuity in the geometry itself, or it may be discontinuity in the material property itself. Then you should use the node or introduce the node at the discontinuity point. Suppose you can take an example here. Body is having uniform area, but load is not uniform. Here up to here some load is there, up to here some P1 load is there. Therefore, I should introduce the nodes where and our discontinuity point is there. One is here, and where the discontinuity point is there, one is here and one is here. Therefore, the space is here and here is not uniform. Here lesser the space is there between the nodes, here the more the space is there. So this is the example where the discontinuity in the loading. Suppose if the discontinuity in the geometry itself, like stepped bar, here one area, here one area, then you have to introduce the nodes. One is here and one more where the discontinuity is here and here, like that. Suppose if the discontinuity in the material itself, material means it made up of more than one material, like composite material. So one is copper here, one is aluminum here. Therefore, how to introduce the nodes here now? We need to introduce a node where the discontinuity common point is there. Where the discontinuity common point is there? Here. This is the contact point up between the copper and aluminum. Therefore, in between this point only, I should divide the nodes here. So this is known as location of the nodes. And one more, plate with a crack discontinuity in the middle. And so here what happened? There is a discontinuity in the geometry also. Now what happened? We can introduce the nodes between outer of this like this. So this is the factor which affect the location of nodes. The location of nodes, it depend upon the body, discontinuity in the body. If it is uniform in the loading, uniform in the geometry, uniform in the material means then you can easily discretize the member into equal number of parts with equal number of space of the node. If it is discrete in the loading means or discrete in the geometry means or discrete in the material means, you should introduce the nodes between at the point of discontinuity. Like in the loading condition, if it is like this, then one is here and one more is here and one more is here. Suppose this kind of geometry means at the junction you have to introduce one is here, here, here. If it is in material means at the where the junction both material become point common point is there that you have to introduce. So this is the factor which affect the location of the nodes. Understood, all of you? All of you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The last point which affect that node, sorry, discretization process is number of elements. So not last one more is there. So fourth one, I think this one. Fourth one which affect the discretization process is number of elements. So as we know, as I explained here in previous, I think somewhere here, where is that? Yeah, I think this one. So as in the explained here, more the number of elements if I use it, or more the number of lines is if I use it, what happen? The result will be converge more, and result will be exact. Correct? No? Correct? Huh? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yes. So here also same thing. The number of element chosen for idea related to the accuracy, size of the element, number of degrees of involved. As in the increases the number of element generally means that more the accurate result. However, the use of larger number of element involves large number of degree of freedom and more compression time. This also again one more effect. More number of elements if you use it, definitely the results will be accurate. But again, matters of your computation time is more because more number of degree will be increased. Therefore, computation time will be increased. So therefore, so here you should decide how many number of elements is used. And one more thing, very important in the graph, what is happening here? There is a number of element, there is exhaustion. As the number of nodes are increased, what happened? The result will be almost closer to the exact solution. But further, after this year, if you increase furthermore, it will not increase in the result accuracy. It will be become constant. So there is a limit is there. Got it? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
However, the
Yes,
use
sir.
of large number of element involve large number of degree of freedom, more computation time, and we not able to store the resulting in the matrix in available computer memory. However, behind a certain limit, although increase in the number of element and accuracy cannot be improved by a significant amount, which can be observed. See, suppose here up to 1000, if you use 1000 element, you'll get exact result. Close, not exact result, closer to the exact approximate result. Further, if you increase, if you make it 2000 element, 3000 element, then if you do it also, you'll result will not vary. It will maintain the same constant result, and simply it will take the computation time. So that is again simply for the increase in the simply increase in the element. What happened? It will take lot of computation time, and also computer memory depends. Your speed of the computer matters. As the more the elements it will take, so based on your computer speed, the computation time it will take. So you believe it or not, if you want to solve one this one, if you want to solve like turbines problem and all means, CFD means, if you click on solve, no, if you use high speed computer also in industry, how much time it will take? No, sometime it will take 124 hours to 24 hours it will take get a result, because especially 3D if you use it, that to lax together, if you use the element, then what happen? It will take, even though high speed computer if you use it, it will take one day, 2 day, like that it will take. That is the thing. That's why it matters a lot. How you are going to choose the element, how you're going to choose the size of the element, which type of element, that also matters. So this is about the number of elements. Last factor which affect the discretization process is node numbering scheme. Node numbering scheme, please, this is very important in examination. Sometimes so many times they ask you explain about the how node numbering scheme affect the discretization process, that they will ask you separately one question like that sometime. Then you should write this. That's why you should understand this one first, clearly, listen properly. Before going to explain this topic, I'm going to explain the topic known as banded matrix. Why we are going to explain means we are going to use some terminologies here like what is bandwidth. We are going to use like see here bandwidth. So you don't know about bandwidth only means then it is difficult to understand. That's why I'm going to before going to discussing about the node numbering scheme, I'm going to explain you the banded matrix topics. What do you mean by banded matrix? I think you know that basics of matrix. No, I think you heard about banded matrix, like symmetry matrix. You know, symmetric matrix means equal number of rows and columns. What do you mean by banded matrix? Anyone idea? Banded matrix means. Hello, hello.
Yes, sir. Same rows and columns.
No. That is square matrix or symmetry matrix. I'm asking you, what is banded matrix? You have heard about banded matrix? No,
No, sir.
no. Okay, fine. See, banded matrix means in a banded matrix, non-zero elements are contained within the band and outside the band elements are zero. That means you can see the this one. This is symmetry matrix. What is the size of this matrix? 6 by 6. 6 by 6. 6 rows, 6 column is there. So you can see this is called a band. Up to here it is called a band. That is called NBH, north band height or north band width. So in this band, inside the band, up to inside the band, there is a non-zero elements are there like K1, K12, K13, K14, K21, K22. These are non-zero. Outside the band, there are zero are there, and that is known as a band matrix. Within that band, non-zero elements are present. Outside the band, zero elements are present. That is known as a banded matrix. Usually, diagonal elements like this you can take it. No, so these are non-zero. So up to here, the width of the band is this much, this much. So up to here is non-zero, and outside this are non-zero. That is called banded matrix. In the matrix, all non-zero elements are either side of main diagonal joining the elements K11 example, K11 and K6 is. So this is called as main diagonal. You can see our principal diagonal, this one. Here the principal diagonal is this one. That you know now, principal diagonal in the matrix.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
We know, sir.
This is the principal diagonal here. K11, K22, K33, K44, K55, K66. That is called principal diagonal or main diagonal. In the matrix, all non-zero elements are on either side of the main diagonal. See, this is the main diagonal and non-zero elements on either side, either here or left or right. So joining the elements K1, K6, and these are within the band whose width is given by NBH. What is NBH means? Off band width. So this will measure the size, that is off bandwidth. So the off bandwidth or semi bandwidth is defined as the greatest number of coefficient of matrix in any row of the matrix from including the leading diagonal to the right side non-zero coefficient. I'll repeat once again. The off bandwidth or semi bandwidth is defined as the greatest number of coefficient of the matrix in any row of the matrix from including the leading diagonal to the right side of the non-zero coefficient. Means from this principal diagonal to the right side, how many number of non-zero are there with respect to the road side. So that width is called as off bandwidth. 1 minute. Off bandwidth. That width is known as off bandwidth. Half band width. Understood? Half band width means? Hello?
Sir, explain it again, sir.
Half band width or semi band width is nothing but the greatest number of quotient of the matrix in any row of the matrix from and including the leading diagonal to the right side. Non-zero coefficient means leading diagonal means this one, principal diagonal. From with respect to this principal diagonal, on the row side, how many non-zero elements are there? Quotient like K11, K12, K13, K14. That is known as, that will measure the size of the bandwidth. That is known as off bandwidth or semi bandwidth. The main use of banded matrix lies in reducing the space required to store the given matrix and minimize the solution time. So here, as the number of bandwidth is less, it will take lesser the computation time, it take lesser the memory in a computer, therefore you will get solve easily. So therefore your result matter on the size of the bandwidth. Lesser the bandwidth, you'll get lesser the time to take the solve the problem. That is what they're saying. The main use of a banded matrix lies in the including reducing the space required to store. One, it will reduce the size to store the data and also minimize the solution time. Thus, banded matrix used to store only non-zero element. What we will do, size of the matrix, how much is there here with respect to this? 36 is there. You need not to store 36. Only you should store the non-zero element. You should skip this. Computer, it will skip this 6. That means only 30 it will store the data, 30 quotient, and rest of the 6 it will be neglect because that is 0. Similarly, come to an example here. Total size is 6 into 4, 24. But how many zeros are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That you can neglect it. So therefore, what happened? So now the main bandwidth is to reduce the store the data in a computer memory, and also it will improve the speed for the computation time. So therefore, it will store only the non-zero element, and zero elements are going to be neglected. So this can be stored compactly n into nbh, where n is the size of the matrix multiplied by its bandwidth. So that is known as banded matrix. It is known as banded. Banded matrix means this much only. Across the principal diagonal, only non-zero elements are present. Hello? Within that band, only non-zero elements are present, and outside the band, the zero elements are present. That is known as banded matrix. Understood, all of you?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
come to the point of node number scheme. The size of the global stiffness matrix, it resulting from finite element analysis, depends upon the node numbering scheme and number of degrees of freedom considered per node. If we can minimize the size, both solution time and storage requirement also can be minimized. To achieve this minimization, we have to perform a symmetric subdivision and adopt an appropriate numbering system for nodes. The bandwidth of the global stiffness matrix can be defined as B is equal to D plus 1 into F. That means I told no global stiffness matrix. So that is KQ is equal to F. Once you added the element stiffness matrix, it's called as global stiffness matrix. That usually the global stiffness matrix, usually a symmetric matrix will be there, equal number of rows and equal number of size. So here, how many non-zero elements are present in that? It depends upon the your solution time, and more than non-zero elements are present, more time it will take to solve it, and degree of freedom is also more. Therefore, the size of the stiffness matrix of the finite element analysis depends upon the how we are going to number the numbering the scheme, and how what is the number of degree of freedom is there. As we know, number of degrees are more, then definitely it will take more computation time to solve it. Therefore, this number of as we reduce this size, what as we reduce the size of the matrix, so it will require store minimum. It will take minimum memory to store the data, and it will take faster way it can be solved. Therefore, that matters a lot. It depends upon the one more is very important, how we are going to number in the scheme. So how this scheme will be affect? So as I told, usually your symmetry matrix, thus bandwidth matters a lot here, this NBH. How to calculate this bandwidth? There is a one formula of bandwidth B is equal to D plus 1 into F. What is D means? D is the maximum logic difference between the node numbers in an element, and all the elements are considered for its determination, and where F is the number of degree of freedom at each node. Let me take to the example. Then it will become very easy. Observe carefully now. So this is the one frame they consider, one rigid frame. It is there. They divided the element, equal number of elements here and here. Number of elements are same, but node numbering is different. There are two ways we are going to do the numbering scheme. One is along the shorter dimension, one is along the longer dimension. Which is shorter dimension? See, this is the shorter dimension and this is the longer dimension. Now I'm going to numbering along the shorter dimension. Like I'm give the number now. Here, nodes are here at the corner points are nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I come to here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like that, up to total 77, 78, 70, 80. Total 80 nodes are there. This is along the shorter side. Suppose along the longer side, if I going to scheme it, means like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 20 here. Again from the top 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, up to 40. Again 41, 42, 43, 45, up to 60. Again from the top 61, 60 up to 80. So that means here nodes are same, but the arrangement of the numbering is different. I done one is along the shorter side, I done one is along the longer side. Then how it will be affect the bandwidth? Let me see first one. First an example, node numbering across the shorter side. So shorter the bandwidth can be obtained by numbering node across the shorter dimension. So there are 80 nodes, total are 80 nodes. So assume that there are 3 degree of freedom per node. Assume that there are 3 degree of freedom per node. Therefore, how many equations it become? Unknowns become 8 threes are. 8 threes are become how much? 8 threes are
24.
become how much?
24.
24. That is
24.
8, 24. That means 240 unknowns. Therefore, finally, your global matrix usually size of square matrix. That means 240 by 240 is the finally your global matrix size. 240 columns, 240 rows. Therefore, total matrix size become 240 into 240. It will take around locations or memory locations is 57,600 memory location it will take. So now I need to calculate the bandwidth for this. How will calculate? That is formula D plus 1 is into F, where D is the maximum largest difference in the node numbers in the occurring for all the elements. So how to calculate the difference now? Let me see. 1 minute. Can able to see the screen now, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, I'll zoom it. Okay, now how to calculate difference? No, see, 6 into opposite corner you multiply 6 into 1 minus 6 into first element you take it 6 into 1 minus 5 into 2, that is 10. 5 into 2, that is difference become how much now? How much? Usually
-4.
10 minus
4.
leave it about this one. What is that sign? Because you can usually we are going to minus from greater value to the no. Just I will take 10. Okay. Next I will come to next element. Next element here. So I will take like this. 6 into 3 minus 6 into 3 minus 7 into 2. How
4
much?
now.
Sir, 4,
How
sir.
much?
4.
Sorry, 4. How much it become?
4, sir.
Lala, 7 into 2, no? This one.
Yes, sir.
How much?
4. 4.
Equal to 4. Next.
Sir, that
you
one
come
also
here.
4, sir. 6 into 1 minus 5 into 2.
This is also 4, no? That is why. 4. Okay. Next. Next I will take it. Third one you take it. 8 threes are. How
8
much?
to 4. 3 into 8 minus 4 into 7.
8 into 3. 8 into 3.
The mic is muted.
8 into 3 into 7 into 4. How much it become?
4.
4. So that means maximum difference is how much is there? 4.
4, sir.
Correct now? So therefore, what is the degree of freedom become now? Sorry, bandwidth become now. So therefore, the bandwidth is D plus 1 into F, where D is the D become 4. The assumption that then they suppose you consider 3 degree of freedom. Therefore, 4 plus 1 into 3, that is become total bandwidth become how much now? 15. 15. So therefore, the bandwidth become 15. Now, if you want to find what is the storage requirements, no, this bandwidth into 240. Why 240 I taken? Because 240 is the my number of unknowns will be there. because 80 nodes into 3 equal 240. Divided by how many location it will take? 3600. See, earlierly how much it is? If we take 240, 50,600. But now if we use the banded matrix method, if you use the banded matrix, then you can easily store it 3600. See how much it is reduce the location. That means it will reduce the size of the memory. And also computation time is it required is less. Understand? Understand? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let me take the second one. Along the longer dimension, I'm going to scheme no like this. I will calculate now. So see, same thing we are going to calculating. First element 22 into 1 minus 22 into 1 minus 21 into 2 equal to how much? 22 into 1 minus 21 into 2. How much? Hello?
22, sir.
20. 20, sir.
20 no? 20 right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second one you come here. 42 into 21 minus 22 into 41. I'm taking this one. I'll give a space. This one. 21 into 42 minus 41 into 22. How much it become? 20 only. You check it. Correct now?
20, correct.
Similarly, this one. Third one. 41 into 62 minus 42 into 61. How much? Sorry.
20.
20, sir.
20 only. Correct.
20 only.
Now what is that? B you got 20. D you got 20. Correct? D how much you got?
20, sir.
20. What is the degree of freedom? 3. We consider 3. Therefore, what is the bandwidth? B equal
60.
to 20 plus, in bracket I'll write, 20 plus what?
1.
20 plus 1 into F equal to how much?
60.
63.
63.
Correct now? So B equal to 63. So therefore, what is the location size become? 63 into total number of unknowns are 240. How much it become? 240 into 63.
15,120.
So see that.
15120.
15120. Correct. See, if I do the numbering on the longer, shorter side, you got only 3600. But if you do on the longer side, you got 15,120 locations. That means it will take more memory and more time. So which is the best one? We need to do the numbering. Which is the best one?
First
When you
case.
do the numbering on the shorter side. Shorter side. Always you should number on the shorter side. Then you'll get lesser the bandwidth, then it will take lesser the location memory and lesser the time computation time. So like this, it will affect the node number is key. Understood all of you clearly?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Node number is key. Very important one. Banded width matrix you understood? Banded matrix you understood? Hello?
Sir. Yes, sir.
All of you understood? All of you. Not only 3 members,
Yes,
4
sir.
members.
Sir.
Sir.
So this is the about the factor which affect what? Factor which affect what? Factor which affect what? Discretization process. What are those? Again, I will repeat. Types of element, size of element, location of nodes, number of element, node numbering scheme. Again, in the next class, I will ask you the same question. Please. Types of element, size of element, location of node, number of element, node numbering scheme. All these things will affect the what? What?
Discretization process.
Discretization or meshing process. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as I mentioned here, I mentioned the I discussing no number of the size of the elements. So in the topic size of the element topic, what I discussed. So as the size of the element increases, your accuracies matters. So at one stage, what happened? As the size of the element decreases, your results will be converged to the exact solution. As further increase in the size of the element, what happened? Further increase in the further decreasing the size of the element, what happened? As the size of the element decreases, results will be that means size of the element means become smaller and smaller. Your results will be converged to the exact solution. As further increase in the reducing the size of the element, what happened? Results will be what happened? Results will be what happened after this point?
Diverge.
Diverge. It will diverge from the exact solution. Why? Why it is happened? So because it matters the meshing qualities. That is what we are discussing here. So meshing, when you're reducing the size or decreasing the size of the element and even the number of element, your meshing qualities matters here. So therefore, that because of that reason, it's going to be diverge. So let me see then what are those meshing quality will be there. So there are so many other. We've taken one important quality criteria. Usually we're going to consider during the meshing process: aspect ratio, skewness, wrapping factor, Jacobian ratio. These are the four mainly meshing quality we are going to consider during the meshing process. As you wish, you can't reduce the size of that. There is a limits. So up to this limit, if you reduce it, it will be give the exact solution closer to the exact solution. But after that, what happened? Diverge. So therefore, the analysis should know how much size I should decide, and based on that quality, you have to check it, and you have to maintain this quality. Otherwise, it will affect the results. Let me see one by one. Aspect ratio. Aspect ratio is nothing but ratio between the largest and smallest characteristic dimension in an element is known as aspect ratio. Largest aspect ratio increase the inaccuracy of the finite element representation and have a detrimental effect on the convergence of the finite resolution. As the aspect ratio of 1 is ideal but cannot always maintain. In general, the aspect ratio are maintained in between 1 to 5. See, very simple aspect ratio. No, you can see this figure. You can get no. So ratio between longer side to the shorter side. Suppose you take an element. This is the longer side. This is the shorter side. So between these two, if you take the ratio, no, that will give the aspect ratio. So usually for ideal condition means the aspect ratio should be equal to 1. That means when it become AR become 1, when longer edge equal to shorter edge, like exact square. If it this divided by this, you'll get 1. But usually it can't be maintained. When you're going to reduce the element, no, size of the element, it can't be maintained. It will be definitely going to vary. Suppose you can take an example of here. Here, here also it is in coarse mesh. This one, this is a finer mesh. What happened? You can see the elements are perfect square. That's why AR equal to 1. But come to third one. So here what happened? Width is more compared to this height. So therefore the AR become 2. The aspect ratio become 2. So therefore, what is the standard value should be there means the general aspect ratio bit should be maintained within 1 to 5. Within that range only you should maintain. If crosses 5, no, as the reduce the size, no, what happened? It aspect ratio going to change. That aspect ratio definitely affect the result to divert the from the exact solution. That's why it's going to happen like this. So therefore, what is the range I should maintain? You can't maintain 1 always. It is ideal condition. You should maintain at least up to 5. What is aspect ratio means? The ratio of longer edge to the shorter edge side. So that is you have to maintain. Understood all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
That is what he mentioned here. Another characteristic related to the size of the elements which affect the finite element solution is aspect ratio of element. Aspect ratio describes the shape of the element in the assemblage element. For two-dimensional element, aspect ratio is taken as ratio of largest dimension to the smallest dimension. Elements with an aspect ratio of nearly unity will give the best ideal condition, but it cannot be getting. That's why I taken here separate one here. Next one, skewness. What is skewness means? Skewness is the angular measure of element quality with respect to the angle of ideal elements. There are two different methods of calculating the skewness for the 2D element. Let me take up this. 2D elements means only two. One is quadrilateral, one is triangular. So for this, how we are going to calculate the skewness? Let me see. See, this is the ideal element, but this is not an ideal element. So when you do the reducing the size, no, what happened? It will cross, but it tilt to some angle. As the reduce the size of the element, it tilt to some angle. So let's that angle we are going to calculating here. This is theta 1 and up to here it is theta 2. Therefore, the skewness is calculated as 90 minus minimum, which out of this, which is minimum, that you have to take it. Either theta 1 or theta 2, you have to take it. 90 minus minimum angle of theta 1, theta 2, or what up to the theta 6, you have to take it. So that will give the skewness angle. Usually for ideal, this one, the skewness angle. What is the angle between here? This is the ideal element. Can you tell me what is the angle between these two here? Vertical and horizontal line, what is the angle? Vertical and horizontal, what is the angle?
So it's 90 degrees.
90 degrees.
90. Therefore, the skewness become what?
90 degrees.
Minus 90, 0. That means for ideal shape of the triangular element, the skewness angle is 0. The skewness angle is 0. Again, you come to the quadrilateral, how we are going to calculate the skewness. Again, you drop the line from between here and between middle of this. Therefore, with respect to this horizontal and vertical line, you give theta 1 and this is theta 2, like that. Therefore, skewness we are going to calculate as 90 minus, which is the minimum angle you will get. No, suppose here you will get 60, here 40, here 30, here 10. So therefore, 90 minus 10, the skewness angle become 90 minus 10, you get 80, like that. So this is the ideal element. This is the actual element. So what is the in actual element? What is the skewness angle become now between these two?
90
What is the angle
degrees.
between here to here? 90.
90.
Therefore, 90 and 90 is 0. That means the ideal case of element, the skewness angle is 0. If 0 it is maintained, well and good. But usually practically it is not possible. Therefore, what is the range should be maintained to accept the range is 0 to 45 degree. Up to 45 degree, it is acceptable. If more than 45 degree is there, then what happened? You need to change. So as they reduce the size of the element, no, what happened? Skewness angle also going to be increases. So because it will become tilt, cross. So as you reduce further, that's why result is going to be diverse. That is the reason. That's why you should maintain within these limits. That is 0 to, they're given here. 0 to how much? 45 degree. Next, wrapping factor. What do you mean by wrapping factor? Wrapping factor is defined how much node is out of the plane that it should be regardless of shape of an element, as long as there are one plane wrapping factor and the wrapping angle is 0. See, that is very simple. You can see what happened. All the nodes are within the plane only. Here it will be at this point. So as you further reducing the size, now what is happening? You can see this corner. What is happening in this corner element? Nodes are coming out of the plane. It coming upward. You can see. Finally, it comes like this. So this is known as wrapping factor. Understood? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So how much angle it is out of the plane? That angle you are going to calculating like this. Here show the figure theta, and that angle is known as wrapping angle. Usually for ideal case, again, wrapping angle as well as wrapping factor should be 0. Should be 0. You can see in this figure with respect to this, when it is exactly on the plane, the wrapping factor is 0. When somewhat it come up, then 0.01, here 0.04, 0.11. When completely come upward, this out of the plane completely, then wrapping factor become 5. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. So therefore, again, here also the acceptable range from wrapping factor is from 0 to up to 4. 0 to up to 4, it will be acceptable. Not 4, sorry. 0 to what is that? 0.2. 0 to 0.2 to acceptable. After that, it's not acceptable. So that is known as wrapping. Wrapping is the any node which is out of the plane. That is known as a wrapping. And the corresponding angle, what we are going to measure with respect to the ideal condition, that is known as wrapping angle. So finally, last one, Jacobian. Jacobian or Jacobian ratio is a measure of deviation of the given element from an ideal shaped element. Jacobian value ranges from -1 to 1, where one represents for perfectly shaped element and ideal shape of the element depends upon the element time. The check is performed by mapping an ideal element in a parametric coordinates onto the actual element. This is not much going to be used. So Jacobian usually how much the shape of the element is deviated from the actual one. So that they are going to call as Jacobian ratio. So usually the range will be -1 to 1. So 1 is usually for represent the perfect shape for ideal condition, but usually you'll not get within the 1 only you'll get. Up to -1 is acceptable. More than the -1 or more than the 1, it is not acceptable. So that is about the Jacobian. So all these are check the quality, meshing quality. So any of this quality range, what is standard quality, if you cross that, then the accurate result will be definitely it is in a diverse stage like this. That's why as much as reducing the size also you will not get the accurate result. Up to one limit you can get it. After that result will be diverge. So that based on this meshing quality you should describe when you're doing the discretization. You should check this all these values in software. Automatically it will calculate. You can check it. It will show, even it will display also how much aspect ratio, whether it is out of range or within the range. It will show everything. So this is what the fundamental of this meshing quality. All of you clear? All of you cleared?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, these things what you're discussing, it's all very fundamental basics of FEM. That's why I'm stressing you much and repeating much the same thing, because this is a very new concept. If you are understand this, which will easily deal with the other modules. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So that's why I'm stressing much. I'm given more information other than the examination point of view, other than the syllabus point of view. Also, I'm adding much because example meshing quality. Actually, meshing quality they are not as, but this is very important in case of lab. So, but if you're not done also, no problem. Anyway, examination they will ask you. But I have had it this extra to get in more knowledge of it. So that is what I'm saying. So more information I'm giving other than the syllabus. Almost is common syllabus. Almost extra information I'm giving. I'm not reducing my quality of teaching usually always. Especially this type of core subject, I'm much concentrated on the concept. People should understand the very basic concept first. Should be fundamental, should be very strong. Then only can understand other things. That's all. Understood?
Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me see. What are the force? Next topic is basics again one. Basics again one. What are the force distribution comes under the okay. So what are the force comes under the force distribution acting usually on any object? See, there are two force usually going to be acting. One is called internal force, one is called external force. Let me take first in external. See, when is internal force going to induce means when you are going to apply external force, there will be a reaction take place inside the body of the element because according to the Newton third law. Correct now? Suppose I'm going to apply a tensile load of 10 kilonewton means in inside also, in opposite direction, there is a 10 kilonewton going to be acting. The resistance will be creating inside the body according to the Newton third law. So that internal force is known as that internal reaction force is known as internal forces. So these internal forces are reactive forces which are set up due to the external forces. If external forces are zero, their reaction forces are zero. If external force acting, the reaction force also acting thus equal in the opposite direction according to the Newton third law. External forces are the state of stress or strain on body arise due to external forces. So what are those external forces? They are going to divide into three forces. They are going to divide into three forces mainly. One is called body force, one is called surface force, and one is called point force, point load. Surface force or surface load, or it is also called as traction force. One is called point load, and one more is called body force or a body load. Let me see one by one what are these forces. Body force. Body force, it is distributed the force acting on every elemental volume of the body. The unit is in force per unit volume. Means this is the force which is acting on the entire volume of the body. So like those are called, you can see here, Fx, Fy, Fz. These are called body forces. Example, what are those body forces? Say it may be a self-weight due to gravity, or electromagnetic force, or centrifugal force, inertia force. All these are called as an body force, which is acting on a volume of the body. Therefore, the unit is Newton per mm cube. Newton is the force unit, mm cube is the volume unit. So, therefore, these body forces along x direction, y direction, z direction will be there. This body force always represent in a vector form like Fx, Fy, Fz. It's called column matrix. Suppose if you transport to the this column matrix, if you want to represent to the row matrix, then they use the called as T. What do you mean by T? What do you mean by T? What do you mean by T? Convert row matrix into column matrix or column matrix to row matrix. What is that called? Operation called. Row into column or column into row. If you want to convert, what is that operation called? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
In a matrix operation, convert row into column or column into row. What is that operation called?
Sir, inverse matrices.
Not inverse.
Transfer.
Inverse is transpose. Correct. Transpose. Convert row into row column to row to column or column to row. So that is T is transfer, transpose, not inverse. Inverse is different. Okay. So here either you can represent in a column matrix, usually represent in a column matrix Fx, Fy, Fz. But if you want to represent a row matrix, means you should use T, transpose matrix. So where Fx, Fz are the body forces along x and y direction. And here you can see this is the body we consider. It is fixed at this point, and it is having some displacement along x, y, z. Those displacement is called, along x is called u, small u, along y direction is called small v, along z direction is called small w. These are the u, v, w are called the displacement along with respect to x, with respect to y, with respect to z. So therefore, if I want to calculate the work potential or work done due to this external force, what do you mean by work done? What do you mean by work done? What do you mean by work done? Hello? So UVW is called as a displacement, and this is called displacement matrix. Again, this displacement matrix is represent in a column matrix. Suppose if you want to represent in a row matrix, they are going to use T transpose method. That is called UT. That is known as transpose displacement matrix, total transport displacement matrix. Now I will need to calculate what is work done. My question is, what do you mean by work done? What do you mean by work done? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Can you hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by work done? How to calculate the work done? Work done, appa. Come on. This is a very basic, sir. Work done you calculate, no? How you usually generally going to calculate work done? What is the definition of work done? Huh?
Force into displacement.
Force into displacement. Correct. So, if you want to calculate a work done or work potential due to this body force, means force, here body force F into displacement, that is displacement is UT, that is transpose matrix. So this force which is acting on a volume, therefore we need to integrate with respect to dV. Thus will give the work potential due to body force. Next one, traction force. Traction force is a distributive force acting on the surface of the body. See, body force which is acting on the entire volume, but this traction force is acting on the surface or of the body. Therefore, what is the unit become? Force per unit area, mm square, Newton per mm square. Therefore, examples are frictional resistance force, viscous drag force, pressure force, surface shear force. All these are traction force, which is acting only on the surface of the body. So therefore, this force vector we are going to represent along x, y, z direction, that is tx, ty, tz. Again, if you want to represent in a row matrix, means tx, ty, tz, t transpose. So therefore, what is the work potential due to this traction force means? Again, force into displacement, which is the force T. What is the displacement? Again, ut only. UVW, that is ut. So therefore, which is acting with respect to the surface. Therefore, if you integrate with respect to ds, you will get the traction force due to the work potential due to traction force. Understood?
Yes, sir.
All of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
third force, last force, point force or point load. You already heard of it. Suppose this is a force which is acting on the one single particular point. Say here they given as I. Therefore, the corresponding points are Pi. Therefore, the force which is acting on a particular point, which causes the displacement. So that is usually called as concentrated load. So that we can calculate as what are the how many are there? Again, along x, y, z. Therefore, px, py, pz. So where p is called point load vector. That is, if you want to represent in a row matrix, px, py, pz transport. See, usually keep this in mind. All column matrix or row matrix will be represented like in a flower bracket. Flower bracket. That is called vector. It's called vector. So vector means you know that. What do you mean by vector? What do you mean by vector? What do you mean by vector quantity? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Vector.
Which has magnitude and direction.
Yes. Good. So it is having magnitude and direction. That's why it's called represent a vector like this in a square bracket. It's called vector matrix. Okay. Therefore, P also is a vector. Px, Py, Yz. Or if you want to represent a row matrix, you should use transport. Now, I need to calculate the work potential. See, work potential, if you want to calculate, you are not going to integrate here. Why? Because if you integrate here in a with previous case like traction force as well as this one with respect to dvr with respect to ds, you will get for the whole element. But here, traction force will acting only at the certain points. Therefore, if you use sum of ui into pi means where I equal to depends upon the n. So how many number of points, how many number of point load are acting like p1, p2, p3, then you have to multiply by u1 plus p1 plus u2 into p2 plus u3 into plus up to nth term. So therefore, force into perpendicular displacement will give directly the work potential due to point load. In a point load, you are not going to integrate. You just multiply the force into particular point into particular point. What is the displacement? P1 U1 plus U2 P2 plus U3 P3 like that and so on up to nth term. That's why summing here. So therefore, total work potential due to all these force become sum of body force, sum of sum of work potential due to body force, sum of work potential due to traction force, and sum of work potential due to point load. So all these things are, if you add it, you'll get the total work potential due to all these three acting on this particular body. But here the term, here sign convention we are using minus. Here all these work potential are minus. So when we are going to use minus in our done, when you are going to use minus in our done, when you are using minus in our done, minus sign convention when you are use. Hello? When we are going to use minus word, minus sign convention in the word done.
Heat rejection.
Huh? When you minus word done is minus means what it means. You are usually heard in thermal subject. No, minus is word done is minus means what?
Negative.
No, not heat count. I'm talking about work done. If it is minus, work done is minus. What do you mean that in BTD and all you use no?
When work done is transformed
Not
outside.
possible.
Work done on the
Right.
system.
Yes, that is very important. See, positive and negative we are going to use. If a work done is positive, then work done by the system. If work done is negative, means work done on the system. Here, work done is negative. Why? Because work done on the system. Why work done on the system is because when you're going to apply the force on the body, then the work done is happened. That's why it is called external force. Due to the external force, work done is happening. That's why all this work potential are negative. We taken minus this one, this also minus here. This work potential due to body force are minus, and this also minus, and this also minus. Therefore, all this minus you can take a common here. So work potential is negative since energy is obtained from the external source or work done by the system. Sorry, not work done on the system, not by the system. That's why it's negative. Understood? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you got it? What are the forces will be acting usually on the this one structure means there are mainly three forces. One is body force, traction force. One more is called which force? One more is called which force?
Point force.
Point.
Point four.
Point force. Okay. So up to here we'll stop it today. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All of you understood?
Understood, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.